Hello everybody and welcome to this Train Sim TV tutorial video. This is Mark and today I'm going to be showing you basic terrain painting. So I'm going to basically paint a section of terrain on this route that's this little section of route that I've got completed. The route itself is just a base section of the upcoming Vulcan Productions Leeds to Manchester route, which I must stress is very early stages. For those that are interested in that, please head over to the VP Facebook page. But this is just a short section of route that I'm going to be painting. Basically, just going to show how I do it. This is not, again, as with all our tutorials that I've done, this is not a how to do it sort of thing. This is how I do it, and hopefully you can pick this up and it'll be usable for you maybe, or you'll find your own techniques, and a lot of other people have their own techniques. This is just the technique that I prefer and that I like to use, and hopefully it can help you out. So basically what I always do first is I paint my area around my track and then I'll go outwards. So what I've done here is I've done all the scenery, so all the scenery gets done first. I know some developers do the painting first, that's obviously their choice. I do the scenery first and then leave the painting until last. So what we're going to do here is that I would always paint near the track first and then work outwards, as I've said. So what I want to do is I want these bankings on the side of the track, and it depends obviously on how wide the bankings are as to how you do it, but these are quite wide bankings, and I'm going to paint the bankings first, and I'm going to paint the ballast over that. So I'm going to paint over the track first with the grass texture, which is the grass dark I want to do. And because we've got such a wide sort of plane at the side of the track, so we've got a wide embankment down to the track fence there, down to the retaining fence. We're going to put it on a 60 brush, and I'm just going to start painting, gone onto the paint tool, onto the grass options, grass dark. I always select, left on square, I always select the circular brush style with a 60 size brush and a 1 fall off, and the speed on this occasion I'm using 1. Sometimes if I don't want to do it as fast, I'll change the speed down. That basically changes the amount of paint that comes out, and I'll show that when we move into the fields over here, so it's quite easy to see. So all I do to start with is I just paint across the track like this with the grass tool, making sure I reach down to the bottom there, but also making sure that I just do across the track here, and you can just about see it there painting over the track like so. So basically what that's done is now we can just paint over that, and we don't have to worry about if we catch something or whatever, we can just go over it with the ballast texture. It doesn't matter. If you do the ballast texture first and then do the grass afterwards, obviously you can end up encroaching onto the ballast with the grass textures, whereas if we're doing it this way, you're not going to come across that problem, obviously. So for the ballast, I'm going to put it down to a 20 brush. This sometimes can take a little bit of getting your head around, because it depends on your track width and stuff like that, how many tracks you use and stuff. So 20 is what I use generally for 2 tracks, sometimes 25. So I'm going to change it to the gravel tab, and I'm using the Level to Manchester track textures, but also with the AP track enhancement pack installed. But the track texture names and stuff should be the same anyway. So I'm going to put track bed down, again 20 brush. All I'm going to do is go along and paint over where the track is, as simple as that really. Doesn't take a great deal of effort. You just got to be careful that you don't go too far from the edge, and that you stay relatively close to the track, like that. So that's pretty simple there, we've just painted the track textures. They're painted on. So then what I would do is I'll start going across into the fields, and sometimes I'll use Google Overlay to do it, but I'm not going to bother on this occasion. I'm just going to paint over the fields themselves. So we're going to go into this field here first, and this is where I'll show you the speed brush style thing, how the density of the paint is. So we'll go onto this field, do grass bare. We'll go for a 60 brush, and then we'll try it on speed 1. And as soon as I press that down, a whole circle there comes out. If I put that onto 0.2, note the delay, so you can sort of paint it slower. Generally I do keep it on 1 because I'm fairly used to how it all works and everything, and I don't want to spend like years just doing the painting. Although I do feel that effective terrain painting does make quite a big difference to your route. But if you're not as confident with the tool, perhaps lower the speed so you can learn to use it easier. So all I'm doing here is I'm just going along, I'm clicking, I'm not holding, I'm clicking as I go along, and then as I get to that motorway there, I'm going to put down a tarmac texture right next to it. And I'm not overly fussed if it's bleeding slightly over that fence, in all honesty, because it's not on the track or anything. It's not the sort of thing when people come along the route that they're going to be looking directly at. So as you can see, we've got that in there. And then what I do to break the fields up where the field joins are here is I usually use the grass dark brush, or you can use other brushes, but I mean in this case I'm going to use the grass dark brush. I usually do, to be honest. So I'm going to put it on a 25 brush, size brush, and I'm just going to paint along so that it breaks up that bush line there. And in actual fact, what I should have done, I've just not avoided my own practice there actually, is I followed my own practice, which I would have normally done, is probably painted this bit here first, then done that, because otherwise I can catch it out. You can catch yourself out and you can end up leaking into the texture, such as there, where you can do this bit here and you can accidentally leak into there and you don't have to redo this bit. So it's more sensible to do your outer bits first and then do the dividing bits between the fields last. So what I'm going to do here is, I know this is like a horse pen or something, it's like a dirt pen, so I'm just going to paint in here, like this. And as you get further away from the track, it doesn't need to be quite as neat, but as we are quite close to the track here, it's good practice to try and get as neat as you can. So I'm just going to paint there down that lane. And then I'm going to paint the farmyard. I'm just going to do it all. Generally one style of dirt, but I'm probably going to put a little bit of variation in there, but just like so. Pretty simple to do. And as we're getting there, I'm just going to put a little bit of variation in there. So there's some discoloration going on, it's not all the same. And then in this field here, I'm just going to do a dry section of grass. Like that. So there you go, you got that little bit done there now. We managed not to leak too much, we did leak a little bit into there, which is what I said I should have done that last. What I'm just doing there is the border between. We've got a football pitch here. I don't really have anything suitable for it, so I'm just going to paint it, specifically suitable for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change to a 60 brush and I'm going to do the football field over here. But as many football fans will know, just for extra detail, is that when you go to a football pitch, you'll find that the dirty areas, like muddy areas of the pitch, will always be outside the goal mouth, centre circle and the other goal mouth. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put 15 brush, earth 2, and just put a slightly muddy area. I might try earth grass. Yeah, that's a bit better, earth grass there. And then sort of where the halfway line would be, because a lot of play action happens in there. And then again at that end. And then again there in the middle. And then in the goal mouth. Doesn't really make any massive difference, but I think that little things like that can make sort of a noticeable effect by the end of the project, whatever. So you go down here to, what I would do now for this tree line is go to the forest floor one, because it is a tree line. I would put it on a 30 size brush and we'll paint along that tree line there. And then do the same actually along that bit, looking at it. I mean, that's just personal taste, really. You can do whatever colour you want. You don't even have to do the borders, really. A lot of people don't. It's just a personal choice that I make there to do that. And I'm just going to finish off the road into the farmyard over here. I'm going to save that, because obviously saving regularly is good practice. So then what I'm going to do, this field here is a crop field. And the good thing about the Liverpool to Manchester textures, you get a general sort of good spread of field textures. So you got light, dark, brown. So you can do all different fields. So I'm going to go for somewhere in the middle. So a yellowy coloured field. And as I say, I always paint the borders last, so I'll paint that afterwards. I've gone a little bit over there, so I'll have to repaint over that bit. And as we're near the track, I am keeping the brush size fairly low, down at 30. And on this field, because I'm filling in some quite large areas, I am just sort of holding the mouse button down to paint. There you go, we've done that now. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to redo this little bit of border here that I've gone over with a 15 size brush on the Earth 2 type. And then across this end here, you can see I've sort of encroached onto the railway side of that fence, and obviously in real life you wouldn't see a crop field on the one side of the fence, so I'll go to a 30 size brush and I'll put a full board down this side of the field here, because quite often in a lot of fields I find that you don't see the farmer ploughing right up to the fence anyway. Obviously in some you do, but not all, so I think it looks better if you put a bit of border on it, gives a bit of variety. And I'm going to leave that border because obviously I've got to do that field anyway. I'm just going to put this bit of earth back in here that I mentioned, like that. And then this field here has to be done. I'm just going to do some dry grass in this one. Trying to be careful not to go too far. You can go over the fence obviously because I'm going to do the border. I could go over the fence if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do. So that's that. And then what I need to do is, as I said, I'm just going to put the border down the middle. To be honest, that's probably a little bit wide. Although it's not actually a major thing. There you go. Looks a bit better. So then when it comes to roads, there's different ways you can go about this really. You can do the texturing if you want, and I'm going to do. But generally some people don't bother, some people do. It's one of those things where it's personal taste again. So I'm going to just go around, I've put it onto a 15 brush and I've gone to time out light, and I'm just going to go on the areas directly next to the road. And I'm going to paint all on. Just makes the road stand out that little bit more, so they stand off the grass texture somewhat. And then behind here, I'm going to put tarmac again. Right up to there. So this all sort of concrete, and then in this garden here, again I'm going to put some dark grass. Just make sure that I bleed over slightly there, this side of the fence, because you won't want tarmac on that side of the fence. And that pretty much is this small section painted up. So as you can see there, it's taken us probably, what, 15 minutes I'm guessing. I haven't been counting, but I think that looks a lot better than we looked if you go back to the start of the video. It was just plain grass. And one thing I've just noticed that I can do here, and which I would do normally, is where the telegraph post is. You're not going to, obviously, the farmer doesn't plough around a telegraph post, or through a telegraph post, or plough around it. So one thing you can do there is either make it an earth texture, grass texture, whatever you want, but just put a little area around it. I've made that a bit offset to the side. But like that, you can go around the telegraph post just to make it look that bit more realistic. You don't need to do it there because it's not actually on the field, on the ploughed bit, but that sort of makes it look a little bit more realistic. So I've done there. So yeah, that's a small section of it painted up. I hope that can help people out. Thank you as always for watching. We always appreciate your subscriptions and whatnot. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/TrainSimTV_Tom, and also on TrainSimTV_Mark. Tom's usually the one that does stream more, to be honest. And yep, you can also find us on Facebook at TrainSimTV. And appreciate your time as always. Hope this helps you. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.